Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello, and welcome to our webinar this evening. Hi, Kirsty. How are you?
Good evening. Very well, thank you. You?
Yes, good, thank you. Good. I was just doing a quick check, Kirsty, and it's 9 weeks till Christmas. Does that delight you or horrify you?
It horrifies me, and I don't think you should be using the C word yet. It's too early. One of my clients said it the other week. I was like, "No, you're banned." Maybe in another 4 weeks we can talk about it.
I'm excited, but I'm also a bit horrified by that.
To me, we're still the back end of summer.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we've got people who are joining us now. Yes, we do. Oh, lovely. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to our webinar this afternoon, this evening. My name's Hayley. I'm the Commercial Director here at Lynton, and this is Kirsty, who is our Academy Training Manager. Hopefully you've seen us both before. Probably you have. We're a bit of part of the furniture, us two now. Combined total of about 30 years, I think, isn't it, at Lynton with us?
Yeah, we're classed as the old timers.
We are. Not a bad thing. It's experience.
I still think we're looking good on it, just at certain angles.
Yeah, definitely. So just a quick housekeeping, I guess, then before we get started. So as we run through tonight, the chat function is live, and we'd love to get your feedback and your comments. Please chat to us, say hello. I'm sure we'll recognise quite a few names of our lovely customers in the audience. So do please, in the chat function, say hello. If you could just let me know generally, is the audio okay? Is the camera okay? And yeah, it'd be great to say hello and say hi. If you'd like to ask us anything privately, so to speak, then you can use the Q&A function. So that'll just come directly to myself and Kirsty. But the chat function works really well. I'm sure other people in the audience will be interested in your questions as well. No question is a stupid question. So as we go through, if you want to pop any questions into the chat box, we'll be dipping in and out, and we'll just help to answer questions as we go through. Fabulous. Okay, so I think, oh, thank you. Yeah, let me know if your audio and the video is all okay. Perfect. Super.
Yeah, I mean, your audio is good my end, Hayley, just to let you know.
Ah, Sam's saying the chat's disabled. Huh, that is odd, isn't it? Why would that be?
I didn't even know you could disable it.
We've had this problem before with a webinar, you know, Kirsty.
I've not done a webinar for ages, but I use Zoom all the time for teaching. And yeah, I didn't know you could.
Okay, well, apologies for that. It does look like the chat is disabled for some reason. I'm not sure why. So we'll go back to the Q&A. If you pop any questions that you've got for us in the Q&A section, then we'll get those and we'll answer them as we go through. Fabulous. Shall we get started?
Let's get going. Why not? Absolutely. Let me just get on the right thing. There we go.
Fabulous. Right. So tonight we are very, very, very excited to be launching a brand new topical product at Lynton. And this is another super duper formulation from Photoceuticals, which essentially, you know, between ourselves, our clinical team at Lynton, and Bruce Green and his team at Photoceuticals, we create Lynton Skincare. Now, Bruce has been formulating topical products for many, 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 many years, and he's worked with all of the top, you know, sort of formulation houses over the years, companies like L'Oreal, Aveda, etc. And he's also developed a range of different products which go into NHS as well. And has even been awarded the Sunday Times Inventor of the Year at one point. So he's a super, super smart guy. Bruce, and his formulations are really the backbone of Lynton Skincare. And so we asked Bruce to go away and start to look at putting together for us something that was a pigment inhibitor. So we've been running a few surveys over the last sort of 18 months or so with you, our lovely customers, to find out what kind of product you'd like to see us introduce. And this is where the most popular kind of set of votes landed. So in a product which helps to just manage and control that pigment production. And so tonight, Kirsty is just going to go through some education about pigment in general. And then towards the end, we're going to tell you about the topical product itself, which is called Light Fade. We're going to talk to you about the specific ingredients that are in there. And then we have a sneak preview on a Brucey bonus deal if you're interested in ordering some. So you've got to stay until the end in order to hear that.
Forced to stay till the end.
So you're warned, Kirsty. If we're here at 8 o'clock, it's your fault.
Yeah, I know. Well, yes, thank you. Nicely done that. Yeah, so I can go on a bit, as anyone who knows me will say, but that is because I'm passionate about my subject area. So hopefully that's not a bad thing. And yeah, I am very passionate about melanin actually, because what we know is that it's a thing that actually I see quite a few problems with, be that, you know, clients in the clinic, or be that obviously, you know, when I'm training people. So even today, I've just been teaching our level 4, one of our most popular qualifications. And we've just been having a good chat about obviously melanin and sort of the pros of it, because there's lots of pros to it, but also the problems with it as well. So let's have a look at it. I'm just going to say now, I apologize if you hear my dog. I am at home. I have warned the husband that if he gets too loud, they're both in trouble. I just want to say that now. So kicking off with, I'm not going to go too educational on this, by the way, because, you know, as you know, we do run a lot of other training courses, and we've actually just launched a new one as well, which I'm just going to touch on very quickly. But tonight is about this product, to be fair. But I do want to do a little bit of a background on melanin, and just what it is really, and you know, how it works. So I'm sure you all know that melanin is the pigment that's found in our skin. You know, and it's also found in our hair and our eyes and, you know, a few other places really. And that image, I think, depicts so well that, you know, obviously we've got different skin types. A lot of you I know will be familiar with Fitzpatrick. And of course, the darker skin types have got more melanin, more pigment in their skin. So let's have a look then. So this is just, I'm going to just only go on this briefly. Like Haley says, I can be known to talk a bit. So we don't want to be here till 8 o'clock at night. I've got a casserole in the oven. But it is worth knowing that there are 2 types of melanin. So you've got what's called a eumelanin, which is brown pigmentation, and you've got a pheomelanin, which is more your sort of red yellow pigment. Not actually, to be honest, that relevant for tonight. I'm not really going to linger on this slide. This is more relevant really to when we're teaching IPL and laser, and we're talking more about sort of hair removal and things like that. But certainly it's worth just sort of talking about eumelanin being the darker pigment, and that is often the one that basically we see in things like your solar lentigo, you know, your age spots, your sunspots, your freckles, your melasmas, your PIHs. It will be a lot of that eumelanin. So we just want to do a bit of education on the melanocyte cell. So anyone that's been taught by me will know my hand gestures, and this hand gesture gets used because I always say that the melanocyte cell is a bit like an upside down octopus, because it is, that's what it looks like. And so what I try to explain here is that we kind of need to understand really how this cell works. Because I think that once we understand how this cell works, we understand obviously then how we can interact with it and how we can maybe work with it and work alongside its little sort of foibles, which it does have. So as you can see, just like an octopus, it's got all these little sort of legs coming off it called dendrite arms. And the function of this cell, as most of you will know, is to produce melanin, and it does that obviously every day. And darker skin types, obviously, it will produce more. Or if you've recently been in the sun, it will also produce more, but I'll come to that in a second. And so essentially what it does is it produces the melanin in the center. It then gets delivered along those dendrite arms, and it gets put into a melanosome, which goes into a keratinocyte, so a skin cell. So it sits in the epidermis, as most of you know. And essentially it migrates its way up as the epidermis does. So, you know, all the layers sort of, you know, start to get pushed up, don't they? So that's a normal occurring thing that should be happening really to everybody's skin. And, you know, we want some melanin production. We'll have a look at that in a second. You know, it's not that we don't want any at all, but we just want it to perform in a regular way. And so if we actually look at the melanocyte cell itself in terms of darker skin types, what we know is that darker skin types have still got the same number of melanocyte cells, but they're just producing more melanin and, of course, more pigment. And that's the way it's designed to behave. And we're going to have a look at, you know, in a second, how things like your solar lentigos, your age spots, things like that, how do they actually appear, and you know, why do they appear essentially? So one of the main things is we all know is, you know, the sun and how the sun can interact and how it can activate melanin production. And I think sometimes we get a bit anti-sun, don't we? And we kind of, you know, in aesthetics are very, the sun's bad for you and too much of it is aging and too much of it causes skin cancer and, you know, it's a bad thing. And I'm, you know, very much in that ilk myself. However, we do need a little bit. I think even the Skin Cancer Foundation have actually said 15 minutes, half a day, sorry, half a body every day is actually what you need. It's for your vitamin D production. So it's not totally bad. But I think we all know that excessive amounts is not good for us. So UVA is the one that's known to cause sort of the aging, isn't it? And that's the one that gets deeper and can cause collagen elastin breakdown and all those sorts of things. UVB is known more as sort of the burning ray, isn't it? And that's known as the one that can cause those sorts of problems. And essentially both of those, as I say, in you know, great doses is not really, you know, a good thing and it's not too good for us. So a lot of the time we're trying to educate our clients, aren't we? We're trying to say, look, we've got some amazing treatments, we've got some amazing products. Obviously we'll look at the light fade in a second, but we do need to educate clients and say, we really do need you to be staying out of the sun, you know, as much as you can. We really do need you to be aware of the power of the sun and you know, all the things that you really need to do. If we can do that early on, so when people are in their, you know, teens, their adult years, they obviously stand a much better chance at not having pigment problems in the first place, you know, and so it's all about education. But you can tell someone obviously when they're young, they don't always want to listen. And typically in my experience, it's when we get older. So as we get into our 40s and 50s and the damage has been done, and then of course it starts to show. And that's when people start to learn. So a lot of people unfortunately do learn the hard way, but keep on educating and keep on trying. I still haven't given up yet. And so what this slide is trying to sort of show you really is just the concept of, you know, what we just looked at is that normal melanin production, you know, that melanocyte cell, you know, performing in its normal manner, the way it's meant to. But what we know is that sometimes it gets damaged. Sometimes it becomes a little bit stimulated. And we're going to have a look at some other reasons why. It's not just sunlight. But if you look at this analogy here, you can see that when it is then a little bit stimulated, a little bit damaged, it goes into kind of overdrive and it overproduces. And as you all know, that's when, again, we start to get things like our tans, but also we start to get our freckles, our solentigos, and all those sorts of problems. And I think that diagram just shows it nicely there, the concept of that sort of excess melanin that's building up. And time again, I speak to people who will say one of the most aging things they think is having age spots, sunspots, things like that. They don't seem so bothered about freckles, although obviously some people don't like freckles, but it's more sort of what they would class as an age spot. That's what a lot of clients don't like. So not only is it, of course, the UV light that causes a lot of the issues as well, we've also got to be aware that there are other times where we're going to notice a bit of sort of excess melanin production. So a classic time could be, for example, for females when they're pregnant, or they could be taking something like an oral contraceptive. That could be the tablet, it could be, you know, the implant, it could be a coil with hormones in, it could be fertility drugs, it could be HRT. What we know is that certainly estrogen and progesterone have been linked to causing sort of melanocyte changes. And that's because pigment is actually really clever, I think. You know, it's designed to protect you. You know, that's its main job, isn't it? And so it's produced, and it's the melanin that obviously then will absorb the UV light. And it's the melanin that is the protector of our skin. I've had it likened to like little umbrellas coming out on the beach. So all the, you know, melanin sort of cells come out. So during these times of, you know, hormonal changes, you know, our skin goes into protection mode. And also actually even from some of our treatments if we're not careful. So as some of you will know, if you put too much trauma into the skin, so that could be a laser, that could be, you know, a needling device, that could be a really strong peel. If we put a lot of trauma into our skin, it's a natural byproduct of our skin to produce melanin. Again, it all centers around protection. So I'm just going to show you a few examples of of you might be a bit newer to this, and so just a little bit of education on these conditions. So I've mentioned sole lentigo a few times. So it's these are the brilliant images, particularly that hand. It shows there what we mean by sole lentigo. So just one single pigmented spot. Obviously, you might have a lot of them. They're typically quite well defined. The edges are quite clear. You can clearly see those lesions there. And I say it might be that somebody naturally suffers with freckles, or it might be they've gone on to develop this later in life because of the classic UV exposure. Now, these are things that we can really successfully treat already, to be fair. So I'm guessing a lot of you on this webinar already do your IPL laser treatments, and hopefully you've been trained by us. And so you know that these are actually really treatable, and we get some beautiful results. But what we're going to look at shortly is, once you've achieved those fantastic results, how do we maintain them? How do we keep them going? One thing that I'm always trying to get across in training and get across to my clients that I see in the clinic is, if you don't be aware of future sun exposure and do certain things, that pigment will just come back again. 9 times out of 10, we're not actually fully removing it. We're reducing it dramatically. So it might look like to the eyes it's gone, but it's typically reduction, isn't it? So how do we keep those good results going? So that's just showing you a really nice example of one of our clinics who's done a fantastic treatment there, and just shows you how amazing IPL lasers are for these conditions, which, as I say, is not new to us, really, is it? But then it's conditions like this. So this is what we can struggle with. So these are the sorts of conditions where people say to me in training, well, what can I do with this then, Kirsty? Can I use an IPL? Can I use a laser on this? And unfortunately, generally, we're going to say no. That's the general answer. So hyperpigmentation just means obviously excess pigment, simple as that. And we see this on all skin types, but we see this particularly on those dark skin types, as you can see from this image here. And what we've personally typically found is that if we try and do IPL and laser on these conditions, if you're not careful, you can actually make them worse. And so what we've always advised typically is stay away from them with your IPLs and your lasers. There are obviously, better things around, such as the product we're talking about tonight. And historically, I've talked about other skincare products, and I've talked about, skin peels and things like that. There's better ways. We've then got kind of the same thing, but we would call this what's known as PIH, so post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So again, pigment is designed to protect us. Again, it often comes because of trauma. So some people just naturally get it. Going back to that last slide, some people naturally get it around their eyes, around the mouth, for example, groin areas where you need more protection. But the true sort of PIH is, as the name suggests, post-inflammatory. So as you can see by these images, perhaps they've had some acne, they've had some outbreaks, perhaps they've had some ingrown hairs, they've maybe had some folliculitis, perhaps they've had a burn from an oven or something like that. But essentially, some form of trauma that has then caused, this pigmentation. And again, this is the sort of stuff that we don't generally recommend IPL lasers for. Not saying that people don't ever do it, but it's typically, not recommended by ourselves as a general rule. Obviously, some of you will be medics, some of you will approach things differently. And there are some protocols out there, by the way, for example, the pico laser, which we sell. You can see some really nice results. And also there's some other protocols as well. But as a general rule, particularly for a non-medic, we don't recommend treating with IPLs and lasers. And then good old melasma. So we talk about melasma quite a bit because unfortunately it's quite a common problem for so many, and it is mainly women, I have to say. The last 2 images were female, but they are seen in men a lot as well. Melasma is generally female, though I have seen it in men as well. And that's, again, typically those hormones, those estrogen, progesterone hormones. And so, as I said earlier, commonly seen in pregnancy, oral contraceptives, all those sorts of things. And again, if you've been on our training, you'll know that typically we say you can't use IPL or a laser on this. Again, if you're a medic, if you work in the pico lasers, it's a little bit different, but typically, we don't recommend it. So then what do we do? What do we use? You know, do we have other modalities? And so, of course, this will lead nicely on to our new product. And so before we start having a look at the product and looking at, you know, what it's so good for and all the unique features, I am being a bit cheeky because I'm just getting a quick slide there on, as I say, we you know, run lots of courses. I run a lot of our qualifications, but I just wanted to slot in there that we've launched a new course, and it is relevant to tonight because this course is centered around understanding skin. So as you can see there, it's level 3 access to aesthetic therapies, and it's a bit of a baby of mine. I've been working on it for a few months now, and a few of my colleagues have very kindly helped me. And just really, really quickly, this is a sort of course that is for people who are new to the industry and are wanting to get into aesthetics. But also it might be that you've actually been in this industry for a long time, but you don't actually really understand that much about skin. So you're not that familiar with PIH, you know, you're not that familiar with melasma. You don't know what a sebaceous hyperplasia is, or contact dermatitis, or seborrheic keratosis. You know, you don't really actually understand as much as you'd like to. And certainly when I did my beauty training, God, 23 years ago, I had good training, but it's a long time ago. So it might just be that you want a refresher. So just have a quick look on our website, keep your eyes peeled for it. But I just wanted to drop that into conversation that, you know, if you do want to understand more about this, then that sort of course would obviously, you know, be a good one to look at. So going back to melanin, can we totally remove it? I would say typically no. Some people would argue with me that and say, oh, I don't agree, because you can. Again, when we're doing our IPL laser treatments, we reduce it massively, you know, hugely, to the point where we can't see it really a lot of the time to the eye. But I'd argue we don't totally remove it. And also, you can't stop the skin from producing it. So as long as that melanocyte cell is still functioning and it's still working, it's still going to produce melanin. Now, there are some people where their skin will stop producing melanin. So, you know, for example, vitiligo, or, you know, you might have seen it on clients where they've had so much sun damage, you know, and they've been in the UV light so many times that the melanocyte cell has actually given up and stopped working. You know, it's just so badly damaged that it just doesn't function anymore. But for most people, it's going to carry on working, and to an extent we want it to. You know, we don't want no pigment. But again, before I get specifically to the light fade, it's all about just trying to be really sort of, you know, clear with people and give people clear advice that whatever treatment they're having, whether it's a product, whether it's a laser, whether it's a peel, whatever it is, you have got to be aware that that melanocyte cell is still working and will still keep producing. And so basically it's up to the client to keep doing the right thing. So as I said earlier, we're going to always keep talking to them about, look, please stay out of the sun as much as you can. Please be mindful of how powerful the sun is. But also recommended, as I'm sure you all do anyway, a really good high quality SPF, and talking about how much to put on, how often to apply it, and, you know, all the sort of merits of using an SPF. And that is one of the amazing things about this product that we're going to talk about. This is not just a pigment inhibitor. This is a pigment inhibitor and an SPF. And that, to me, is what's really clever about it. So I'll come to that in a second. Before we do, and we have a proper look at it, this is just trying to explain that, again, it's all about suppressing production. So it's not about stopping, it's about suppressing. And what we know is that when we look at that melanocyte cell and its functions, there are some enzymes that surround it. And one of the most common enzymes that you'll have heard of is tyrosinase. So tyrosinase is one of the main enzymes involved in pigment production, melanin production. So when you look at a lot of skincare products that are around that are designed to improve pigmentation, some of them will say things like it's a lightening product. Some people will say it's a fading product. Some people even use the word bleach. I'm not so keen on the word or terminology bleach for obvious reasons. We don't want to bleach the skin. All we want to do is slow down the production. What we're trying to do here really is control the melanocyte cell, and really what we're actually trying to do is reduce that tyrosinase. If we can reduce the tyrosinase, the enzyme involved in the production, there won't be as much production, and everything will be a little bit calmer and a little bit more how we want it, if that makes sense. So the truth is there's lots of good products on the market. You know, they've been out there for many years and there's new ones coming out all the time. So when Lynton was sort of saying, well, you know, we're going to launch a you know, sort of fading product, I was interested. I said, well, you know, what's going to be different about ours then? Why is ours going to be better? And you'll see in a second that the reason why ours, I would say, is better, but also not even better, just unique, different, is the clever combination of 3 of the best ingredients you can get at the moment, but also, as I keep saying, it also includes an SPF, and that to me is a clever, you know, concept. Before we look at that, I just wanted to really quickly touch on, there's lots of ingredients out there that are used to, again, suppress production, reduce production, you know, improve pigmentation. And to be fair, some of these products get some amazing results, you know, they really do. But some of the ones that we come across, you know, in the industry are things like your retinoids, your retinols, your retin-As, your hydroquinones, things like that. And whilst they get some amazing results, one of the things you need to be aware of, and some of you will know, is they do cause a fair amount of redness, irritation, and sensitivity on the skin. And then that can put the client off from using it. And so, you know, we're trying to, you know, they try to look at a product that would be a little bit kinder to the skin, but also hopefully get those, you know, good results as well. The other thing about things like your retin-A, so retin-A and hydroquinone, they are prescription only. And so you do have to be a medic, obviously, to be able to, you know, prescribe those products. So Lynton wanted a product that anyone could use. You didn't have to be a medic. It didn't irritate the skin. It was kind to the skin. And obviously it was effective and it worked. So this is what the light fade looks like. You can see it's in that really nice bottle, same as the stem cell serum if you're familiar with that. So really nice little bottle there. And let's just have a little bit of a sort of a look at, you know, what's going on with it really. So as we've said, combination of ingredients, including your SPF 50. And the idea behind this product is you can use it every day and your clients can use it every day. And again, just going back to retin-As, hydroquinone, because they're so powerful, you tend not to be able to use those every day. You actually need some, you know, time off them. And that's not me poo-pooing those products, by the way. I do think those products are very, very good. It's just finding a place for everything really, isn't it? You know. So what is in this formulation? So there's I did a bit of reading about this. You know, we use a skincare in the clinic, and obviously I've got a good background on skincare, and there's some really amazing ingredients around now in the sort of, well, in the skincare industry in general, but also particularly for pigmentation. So Bruce looked at 3 of the best ingredients around at the moment for helping to reduce pigmentation. And as you can see there, I'm going to go through them one by one, but as you can see, we've got kojic acid di-palmitate, we've got licorice white, and we've got alpha-arbutin. So say 3 of the best, most sort of effective ingredients at the moment. So I mentioned about the SPF. I just want to point out that the SPF that is in this product is identical, if not exactly the same, as the very popular Light Protect. So any of you that use the Light Protect, select your clients will know it's got an SPF of 50, so a really good UVB protection there. It's also got a 5-star rating for UVA. So you're getting the highest coverage. The stars go from 1 to 5, and that's a 5-star. So you've got a really high UVB coverage. You've got a really high UVA coverage. And the texture and formulation is actually very similar to Light Protect. So one of the most popular things about this SPF that we've had fed back to us is how it's just not sticky, it's not greasy, it's not tacky. It doesn't make your skin look chalky or white. And that's exactly what the Light Fade is like. It's a very, very similar product in its sort of, you know, consistency and usability. So a little bit on the ingredients. I won't spend too long on this. I don't want to get too technical, but it's always interesting to know, you know, what's going on here. So alpha-arbutin, as you can see there, is derived from the bearberry plant family. It can be cranberry and it can be pears as well, I believe. But alpha-arbutin is known to be the most effective out of the arbutins. There's 3 different types. And if you read some articles on it, it does actually get linked to behaving some ways like a hydroquinone. You know, again, no irritation, no redness, no sensitivity, but its ability to again inhibit tyrosinase production is really excellent, and it's known as being, you know, sort of like the gold standard really. So alpha-arbutin, very important ingredient, one of the ones obviously in this product. Just to say as well, it's also an antioxidant. So any of that sort of free radical damage that may, you know, be occurring due to, again, UV light, pollution, anything like that, it will help with that. And it will help with collagen synthesis as well. Kojic acid dipalmitate. So I have known about kojic acid for years, actually. And when I was first taught it, it was always taught to me as it's derived from a fungus. It can be a mushroom. And kojic acid, again, was one of the ingredients that, you know, was really recognised for helping with pigmentation. This particular type, this dipalmitate, is actually a type of almost like salt. That's what it's likened to, obviously, you know, hence the image. And it's known to be not only far more effective than just normal kojic acid, so it's more effective, but also it's much more stable as well. So it's not going to degrade and break down anywhere near as quickly. So it's an ingredient that will last, you know, a good amount of time in a product, which of course is important. Lastly, it's fat soluble as well. So that means that it will penetrate deeper and it will get more into where we want to get it to. Again, we want to get it, don't we, along, you know, right down to that, you know, melanocyte cell. The last ingredient is licorice white. So I think everyone knows what licorice is. And this is indeed from the licorice plant. So it's actually from the root. That's where it's coming from. Again, it's another tyrosinase inhibitor, so it's doing the same job, but it's just about, I suppose, taking the best ingredients and bringing them all together and not just using one. It's also an antioxidant, and also it helps to reduce inflammation. And that's really useful because, as we looked at before, pigmentation and inflammation are actually very good friends. And so we can reduce inflammation. We're, of course, going to help to reduce pigmentation as well. Lastly, this is not new to skincare. I'm not going to pretend it is. A lot of skincare companies do this. This was discovered years ago. And of course, Bruce wanted to do this with his product as well. So microencapsulation, what this means is that basically before microencapsulation came around, what was happening in skincare was that all those individual molecules were just freely moving around. And what they found was that they couldn't actually get them deep enough into the skin where they wanted to get them. You know, a lot of people say, well, skincare only sits on the surface. Well, some skincare does only sit on the surface, and some of it is actually meant to do that. But microencapsulation essentially means that the product will go deeper into the skin, and it means it's slow released as well. So if you look here, this is what we mean by microencapsulation. It's got basically like a little bubble around it, you know, a little sort of shell. And so as it goes into the skin, it's slowly releasing those active ingredients. As it's going down, those active ingredients are coming out, making them a little bit more effective, but also making them less irritating as well. So they're not all delivered at the surface, they're delivered as it's going down. So that's what's in this product. And so I've already shown you some examples of pigment problems. And so therefore, this product is going to be fantastic for those, you know, concerns. But also one of the things that we want to get across is not only what pigment problems you can use this product for, but also how you can combine it with your treatments as well. This, again, is not a new concept. As I say, I was teaching today on the level 4, and I was saying to my students about, you know, if you want to, you know, ensure that you're preventing PIH problems, a pigment inhibitor would be really helpful. So we're going to have a quick look at that as well. So it could just be that you're just going to use it on its own for a certain condition like PIH. But as I say, it could be that you're also going to combine it as well. So as I say, this is not a new concept. There's lots of companies that do this. So what we know is that if you're going to do your laser, your IPL treatment, your needling treatments, you know, your HIFU treatments, any of those treatments, a lot of them do put some trauma into the skin. In fact, they're designed to do that. You know, we always teach that if you put trauma into the skin, you stimulate collagen elastin, and that is obviously how we get some great, you know, results on aging. And a lot of these, you know, treatments, again, centre around putting, you know, some heat and some trauma in there to actually get the results. But of course, what we don't want is to do all of that and then end up with a PIH and a pigment problem on the back of one of our treatments. That would never be good. That's not what we're aiming for. So some of that comes down to obviously how we do the treatment and how careful we are. But again, a product like this can be so useful. So what we would recommend is, we would recommend that they would start using the light fade at least 2 weeks before any of these treatments, particularly if they're a darker skin type. So anyone can use this, but particularly if they're, say, a Fitzpatrick skin type 4 to 6, we would be saying a minimum of 2 weeks before. I actually prefer longer. I personally prefer, 4 weeks, give it a true sort of skin cycle. Start using this product before. And then once you've had your treatment, use this product every day afterwards as well. And so by doing that, the chances of them developing a PIH or a problem are far less likely. We can't guarantee, obviously, but it's less likely to happen. So basically, prepping the skin to ensure that we can do our treatments with, fingers crossed, no problems. That would be the idea. As I said, it could just be that you're going to use it on its own. It could just be that you get clients in with this problem and you say, look, the best, thing to do is to look at skincare products. It might be that you combine it with other treatments, that's up to you, but it can just be used solely on its own to help improve conditions like this. I'm going to be really honest about this, we're not saying it's going to completely remove all the pigmentation. We're not saying that, and you'll notice I've not actually put any before and after pictures in this. We're not saying use this product and your pigment will disappear, because the truth is it won't. But what we're saying is it will reduce it, it will help it, it will calm it down. That's what we're trying to promote really here. So lastly, how we're going to use light fade. I mean, it's a very easy sort of product to apply. As I say, it's very similar to the Light Protect. So I'm not going to teach you how to apply cream and suck eggs, obviously. But what we always say, what we recommend is basically twice a day. So a morning application and an evening application. Comes in a pump activated bottle, if you've seen. So I'd probably say 1 pump for the face, 2 pumps if you're doing face and neck. Obviously, it can be used on the body. That's not a problem at all. It is, absolutely fine to use anywhere on the body. So obviously, they might just have to use a little bit more if that's what they're doing. Thin layer is actually, what they need. Not too thin, because remember, it's got your SPF in there. So they don't want to be too stingy with it. Anyone who knows anything about SPF will know that, you've got to put, a generous layer on. And actually, if they are using it as their sole SPF, they actually might want to apply it more. But what I personally say to my products is, look, my clients, is use it, as we just said, twice a day. If you are going to be out and about in the sunlight, or you're going to be driving a car a lot, or anything like that, you do need to reapply your SPF more often. As you know, it really should be every 3 or 4 hours. So in that situation, I just say, just use your Light Protect. You don't need to be using your light fade any more than twice a day. Just use your Light Protect. But if you want to, then I think that is okay. Is it compatible with other products? So yes, we've been assured by Bruce it absolutely is. So I'm sure a lot of your clients are on the AHAs, be that your glycolics, your lactics. They might be using salicylic acid BHAs, they might be using retinols, they might be using vitamin C's. A lot of my clients are, I am myself. It's completely compatible with other products like that. Of course, we can't guarantee every single product on the market. There's so many out there, obviously, but typically this is quite a gentle product and works alongside other products very nicely. If, don't get me wrong, it was a prescription retin-A or a really powerful product, I would say just check with that prescriber. That's a little bit different. Of those products do cause quite a bit of sensitivity, but your average sort of AHAs, BHAs, retinols, absolutely fine. And safe and recommended to use all year round. So again, what I'm trying to get across here is that this is not just a product that people use for a time. They can, if they want to, if they just want to use it pre-treatment, post-treatment, they can do. But really what I'm always saying to my clients is, look, if you suffer with pigment, you suffer with pigment, and this is going to be a reoccurring problem for you. So this is a product that really we want you to start using now and really probably never stop. even if they get to the point where they say, well, my pigment, I can't really see it that much anymore, still you are someone who suffers with pigment problems, and so the chances are you're going to get some more pigment in the future. So just keep using it. You know, again, it's got the SPF in there. It's not going to do you any harm.
Thank you, Kirsty.
I'll pass to the glamorous Hayley.
Thank you. So I am just going to run through the numbers now, and just reiterate, I guess, the reasons why. Obviously, clinically, this is a very good product to bring into your business, but financially, why it is as well. So 3 reasons to sell Light Fade in your business, if Kirsty wouldn't mind being my glamorous assistant and moving the slides on. As Kirsty's just highlighted there, it's about minimizing risk, isn't it? So one of the key things that this product will do, if you're using it as a prep and post-treatment methodology, is just help to minimize your risk, which of course has an impact on you financially as well. If a client does have a reaction post-treatment, often we can manage that and keep them really happy, but it's not ideal and it does affect patient satisfaction. So we want to ensure we're trying to get as much patient satisfaction as possible and get raving mad happy customers. So anything that we can bring in that will help to minimize that risk will help with that. And the second reason is that it will boost your results. So if you're performing treatments that help to reduce pigment as well, then getting someone onto this product is really going to help to maximize the results, boost the results, make the results last for as long as possible. So lots of great reasons to bring it in to just lift that patient satisfaction. And then, of course, the third reason is really all about building some passive income. So the beauty of a product like this, as Kirsty says, is it's something that your customers will be repeat purchasing. And at the Lynton Clinic, you know, we make an awful lot of income through what I would describe as like passive income. So we're not actively selling face-to-face every skincare product, but we're getting a lot of people that will just pop back online and they'll just order their SPF or they'll just order their Light Soothe. And so if you can get your online shop up and running, that's brilliant. If not, it's quite good sometimes that a customer has to come into you to buy another product, because that allows them to, you know, just be exposed to your clinic again and see what treatments are new and exciting with you and just build that relationship with them. So having a product like this where someone is on it sort of long term and them always coming back to you to repurchase just means that you're helping to really build up some nice passive income that you're not necessarily transacting there and then time-wise with the customer, but they can just come in and they can just purchase whilst you're busy doing other things.
And just to say, it's always a good idea to say to your clients anyway, come in for a review, isn't it? So any sort of pigment treatment I've done or lots of the treatments, you know, not seeing you in 12 months, how's your pigment? Let's do a review, you know, and check they're still using those products.
Perfect, yeah. So just going through the costings for you now. So a 30 ml bottle is £25 plus VAT. That's the price you'll purchase it from Lynton. They come in a pack of 3, so just like the stem cells. And then the RRP on this is £37 plus VAT. So that 30 ml supply should last your customer about 6 to 8 weeks. And we've worked that out based on the twice daily application. But of course, we would like to incentivize you to buy some now and start retailing this within your clinics. So it's on special offer until the end of November. The Light Fade is going to be on special offer, and that's going to reduce the price down to £20 plus VAT for you. So that actually makes quite a nice difference to your margin. Obviously, you can pass on that cost saving to your customer. So you might decide to do it at a slightly lower price to your customer. But because this is the sort of product where people need it, it's a necessity, it's not so much a luxury like some skincare products are. This is a real sort of problem solver. It might be an idea to actually keep it listed at your recommended retail price, your £37, and just take a little bit more margin. So from 32% up to 45% is your margin increase. Of course, this is a really nice product as well to perhaps include as part of a deal when you're selling courses of treatments. So this time of year, people have come back from the summer holidays. Our pigment treatments are more popular. They're more readily available and easily available for us to perform. So if you're selling a course of 3 or 6 Illumi facials. If you're selling a course of treatment, any kind of treatment that's helping to control pigment production, then it could be that rather than saying, well, you know, we'll give you a 10% reduction if you book a course, instead you could include this product. And from the customer's perspective, that's just really nice added value. It feels nicer than just the typical sort of percentage reduction. And of course, the minute you get the product into the customer's hands and they start using it on a regular basis, that's where we start to build that passive retail income. So it's really working twofold as a bonus to pop this into your packages, and especially at the moment when you're getting it at a slightly reduced price from Lynton.
And I have to say that I actually think it genuinely is really good value. You know, I don't say that about all things, but it's 2 products in one, isn't it? So it's a pigment inhibitor and an SPF. So historically, yeah, I've always had to, you know, package in retail 2 products. And I have to say, I've never found that difficult, because like you say, that's what you need, that's what you need. But the fact that this is 2 products in one, it is really good value.
Really good, yeah. And actually that just leads us on to finish up now with our questions. So we've just got one question which actually relates, Kirsty, to the SPF element. So Maddie was just asking, would you still recommend applying this at night even though it has an SPF in?
Well, that is a good question, actually, Maddie. So it's Maddie who I think it is. Hello, first of all. Yeah, so you don't need an SPF at night time, do you? But it's not going to do any harm, you know, and obviously then you've got those pigment inhibitor qualities. So yes, I still would, but you are right. She technically, you know, he or she doesn't need to use that SPF. But as I say, it's not going to do any harm. So yes, I would.
So you can place your orders through the Lynton customer portal. If you've got any more questions for myself or Kirsty now, then do please pop them into the chat function for us. And thank you very much for listening. Don't all rush now to the online shop and crash us.
Well, is it, I say payday, I know a lot of people are self-employed, but where are we at? 23rd of October. Yeah, people, you know, you're not that close to Christmas yet. They might be flush with cash.
Is this safe for pregnancy? I think is the question, Kirsty.
I believe it is, but I'm going to be dead honest and say it is a new product. And even I'm, you know, sort of don't feel like a total expert in this. I'd be lying if I said I did. So I will double check. If Sammy's on and knows the answer to that, Sam, you know, please feel free to answer it. I think it is.
Yeah.
But think is not quite good enough, is it?
No. If it wasn't, we'd know. If a client stops using the product, will it reverse any results if they don't carry on?
Good question. I think, I suppose, it depends what sort of pigment you're talking about, doesn't it? You know, so if you, well, let's just say, to answer that, you know, in an easy way, any pigment you're talking about, if the body wants to keep making it, so your melasmas, for example, as soon as you stop using that product, yes, theoretically, yes, it could come back to the same as it was. But you've always got to look at why that pigment was caused in the first place. So if it was melasma, for example, because of pregnancy and they're no longer pregnant, you know, and hormones are calming down, naturally it probably starts to get a bit better, but then obviously using the products as well will massively enhance that. So then no, it'll never go back to the way it was. If it was Solentigo, we probably are going to do some IPL and laser, let's be honest about it. And then this product is just that little buffer at the end to somewhat, you know, help prevent it from coming back. But if somebody then went in lots of sun, you know, then it's going to start to come back again. So yeah, I think there's always a chance of pigment coming back, particularly if you stop using a product like this. I don't know, that is a good answer, but.
And if someone needs more hydration and wants to use a moisturizer, should it be applied before or after the moisturizer?
And to be honest, this is a very hydrating product, you know, so you know, this is your moisturizer as well. So I don't think they'll need to apply another moisturizer. You know, this is literally an inhibitor, a moisturizer, and an SPF. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the feeling of the Light Protect, but the Light Protect is a moisturizer and an SPF. So they shouldn't need to, but I guess I would say they really wanted to boost hydration levels. My advice would be to get a hyaluronic acid serum, or a serum that's really high in you know, like ceramides and lipids, and put that on first. Or of course, think about Lynton products. You could put your Light Soothe on first, couldn't you? So Light Soothe first, and then you like fade. That'd be a lovely little combination.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Or stem cell could go on before this. So yeah, all those products I'd say before, because your SPF you want on at the end, don't you? Your SPF should always be the last product you put on.
Yeah. Okay. Can a client use a hydroquinone based product in conjunction with light fade?
I'm going to say no on that one. No, because I don't think it is compatible with that. Double check, but I don't think it is. It probably would be that they could use a hydroquinone, and then obviously later down the line, maybe let's say 4 weeks later, this could be used as maintaining and trying to again suppress. So I could see how that'd be very valuable, but at the same time, yeah, I'm going to say no. Too much, I think, and probably not needed, to be completely honest.
Yeah. Okay, what else do we have? Do we have any marketing leaflets or posters? Yes, we're creating marketing materials for you, so they'll all be available shortly in the portal. Oh yes, Louise is just questioning the price. The RRP, sorry, was 37 plus VAT, so apologies for that. So it's it comes in at just short of £45, so it's £44.40 with the VAT on there. So no, not just 37, it is plus the VAT. Do we have any last questions? Sorry, Kirsty, I've interrupted you there. Yeah, we just got confirmation. Absolutely safe for use for pregnancy.
Maybe so careful these days. It's why I'm a bit on, with that one. As I know some of them are. I mean, a hydroquinone is a no-no when you're pregnant. So,
Right, okay, I think we're done. Of course, we will be available to answer any other questions that you may have. So if there's anything we haven't answered live tonight, you can send us an email to info@lynton.co.uk, just info@lynton.co.uk, and you'll be seeing us marketing this product much more in the Facebook group and on our socials as well. We'd love for you to try it, and we'd love for you to give us your feedback as well. As always, we would love to see your results. We'd love to know what you think of the product. So buy some, use it, tell us what you think, and we're constantly dedicated to making things as good as they possibly can be.
Yeah, that's a nice way. Good. I'm going to go and walk the dog now and have my chicken casserole.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Kirsty. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Very welcome.
Thanks.
I'll say goodbye. I don't feel like I'm saying goodbye to anyone because I can't see anyone, but I'll say goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.